Okay, so this is gonna be my first attempt at something a little bit more than my previous just generic videos were. I finally got myself together a setup really optimized for doing this type of thing, and so I'm going to be tweaking around with some stuff, uploading some of these mess around videos over the next few days. This is on my own personal build. This is an i9-9900K with 32 gigs of DDR4 RAM and a 11 gig Asus GeForce GTX 1080 Ti. This is the nicer variant of the 1080 Ti. And then for those who care about the other specs, this is on a MSI Z390 Godlike gaming motherboard, or I think they renamed it just Meg Z390 shortly after I purchased it, but at the time I purchased it, I believe it was called a Godlike Gaming Z390. What else do I have in this thing? It's liquid cooled with some generic mid-range Corsair cooler. I'm typically kind of cheap when it comes to that kind of stuff. Obviously, if you've watched any of my channel stuff, you'll see tons of different sets of specs. That's because I build systems. I actually build them and sell them quasi-professionally. And so I'm kind of cheap when it comes to stuff like CPU coolers. Oh, this guy's trying to kill me. What is going on? My first kill with this weapon. I'm usually more a fan of the whatever you call it, the semi-automatic shotgun. I figured per shot that might be more powerful, though. Anyway, though, where was I? Anyway, oh yes. I'm kind of cheap on stuff like coolers and things like that because I get so many of them. I usually just use whatever the heck I have on hand. So I did finally go out and buy, I think if you saw my last video, I did go out and buy a 240 hertz gaming monitor. This is a Acer Predator. It's an XB2, but I think the specific model is XB272. It has me. Now, I'm not the greatest at this game, so I'm always curious which ones are fakes and which ones are actual players. I think these are actual players. I think that was just somebody who sucked even worse than me. Anyway, though, so I am on a Acer XB272 gaming monitor. Oh, this gets me. Not. And then the recordings, and this is another one of the big things that I just changed. The recordings are being done on a separate, dedicated build that I put together just for the purpose of doing video capture. And the capture card I'm using, I actually pulled out of my motherboard. Sort of. It came with the Godlike Z390. That was one of the things it actually came with. And as much as people derided it for having this card in it that supposedly no one needed, I actually bought it because I mean, it was there. Lately, the only thing I ever see at Fry's when it comes to motherboards is MSI. And when I built this system, originally, the 9900K, I wanted a flagship board. Not an upper mid-level board, not like a $275, $300 board. I wanted like a $500, $600, $700 board. because I wanted to get into hardware reviews, and it was kind of going to be my first attempt at an unboxing, which I think I posted on here, but it was long before I really knew what I was doing, so what I could do today is far better, but it is what it is. But I never really got around to it, but I kept the board I didn't really need. I was able to fund the purchase price of the parts with the sale of my previous systems, like whatever. So I am running on a dedicated, recording with a dedicated, it's a i7 6700 non-K with 16 gigs of DDR4 and a, what do I put in there? I had a GTX 770 laying around. It was sufficient power for what I needed. The recording is being done with a old Dell 4K monitor sitting next to me. I use that as kind of my monitor to see what's going on. And I wanted to be able to run that or any other 4K monitor, so I did use the 770, so I'd be able to do that. What else does that have? Again, the MSI capture card that came with the board. And that is on a Asus Tough Z270, I think was what that was. I bought a random load of generic boards off Craigslist a week ago, and it's like, whatever. I got the idea just on a whim last night. Hey, let's put together a dedicated capture box. So here we are. And I'm going to be playing around with this. I don't want to hear any complaints about audio quality or anything like that. Somebody suggested a microphone the other day, and the situation is that, like the volume leveling. You may notice the volume isn't the best as far. The quality should be good now, but I may not be able to do the best with the leveling, because what's going on here is I need to be able to record a lot of videos. Quantity is generally going to take priority over quality, just because the primary purpose of this stuff is to test my systems with the secondary purpose being so if it ends up taking me huge amounts of time in Adobe Premiere to edit this stuff and turn it into volume leveled and everything, I may not be inclined to do that, but we'll see how it goes.